because there's going to be
Hmm.
challenges. And I want to be able to have those conversations with my investors with a plan B and a plan C in place if plan A has hiccups. And it's really challenging to do that with, as you said, either the wrong board, the wrong investors, or an institution. And you are 100% betting on and investing in the operator.
I would like to take a 10-minute break and then three, two, one. How do you have the ability to analyze stocks?
Welcome to the Generations of Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Derek Dombeck. Today's guest, Dana Dunford. Amazing story of what she has built in a product that is for property management that, quite frankly, I had not heard of before this show. So I know you're going to get a lot out of this. Whether you have a couple of rental units or you have hundreds and thousands of rental units, you will get a lot out of this show. Before I bring her on, I said to Dana, I do this show to build a network. And I want you to also have that network as well. So if there's anything that I can do to help you, please go to derekdombeck.com, fill out a little information. There's a spot that you can schedule a call with me, and whatever that looks like, whether you're looking to invest some capital or you have a deal you need help on, or you have a deal you want to wholesale or anything, just schedule some time, jump on there, derekdombeck.com. And with that, let's bring on our guest. And here she is, all the way from San Francisco, however, currently in Kenya, Africa, while we're recording this. Dana Dunford, thank you so much for being on the Generations of Wealth show.
Great. Thanks for having me, Derek.
It is really awesome that we can do these types of things from all over the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, Zoom and being able to connect, but also being able to be watching YouTube right now and learning something new, I think is something that across the world, giving people more access to things like this is phenomenal.
Absolutely. Dana, if you wouldn't mind, just start us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, I was raised all over the US, wherever my mom's job took us. And my mom was a scientist, my dad an engineer. And so with that, I never actually thought I'd go into real estate, and also never thought that I would start running a property management tech company. But I part of me wishes I had had this exposure earlier, because it was back in 2010 that I got exposure into real estate. And that was through my older sister and her husband, who were investing in real estate. You can imagine it was a great time to invest. The market had crashed. You could buy anything. And even if you made a mistake, it could cash flow, right? Just based on where interest rates were, where properties were. It's a great time to actually start learning how to invest in real estate. And at that time, I was working at a company called Apple, which everyone probably has heard of, in new product introductions. And from there, I basically went to another company, Nest, which is home technology. So we had the camera, we had the thermostat. This was back in 2013. And so as you can imagine, like with that experience, one, I really liked strong user experiences. And then two, I also loved the concept of like, hey, with Nest, I could remotely manage my own home, right, from my phone. But the rental industry was still really antiquated. Like, the properties that my sister and her husband had were in Denver. And trying to manage them, they had to move to San Francisco, was really, really hard, right? Because you were far away. And on top of that, it was like they wanted something that was super transparent to them. And most technology companies out there were built to say, hey, uh, property manager accesses it. You just get a monthly statement at the end of the month. But to me, it's like, hey, things should be real time. And so when they started managing their own rental properties, I said, great, well, I'll build the software for you. And then my husband and I started investing in real estate at the same time. So using the software as well. And it was basically this concept of like, software is dead. software does not help a real estate investor, but what does? Connecting people and dealing with people problems, which is what all of real estate is about and makes or breaks your bottom line. Because whether you buy a 10-plex or whether you buy a 200-plex, once you have the purchase price and the interest rate and maybe refinance it, everything else is about the operations and the people and your tenants and keeping them happy. And so the concept was basically like, hey, how can we use technology to provide that great experience for both a real estate investor, a property manager if they're using Hemlane, and the tenant? And how do we provide a consistent experience nationwide? So, what I mean by that is like when a tenant inquires about a property, how do we make sure they have the most delightful experience? Call, text, and email within 5 minutes. And why are we relying on a property manager who is overworked, underpaid in a local region, trying to call a tenant back, but also deal with a repair request, but also jump in and go on site to deal with something that's going on? Why don't we have a consistent process where there's someone to pick up those calls, schedule, pre-qualify, do everything objectively? And so I basically had this vision with my co-founder of let's start something that is you can be basically Derek on Mars.
Mhm.
You can go to Mars and you will be able to know everything going on with your rental and you can manage it from there. Whether you're a property manager, whether you're a sophisticated real estate investor, that's the experience. And so, of course, that was like a really, really broad vision.
Mhm.
And it took us, 10 years to get there, and we're still not on Mars, but hopefully soon. Hopefully Elon has something in store for us there. But it was one of those things that when you have a bold vision like that, you have all the puzzle pieces, you don't know how they go together, but it helps you solve something instead of 2x, which is what every other property management software out there does. So every competitor of ours, they solve things of 2x of like, let's go ahead and see how we can add this report and let's go ahead and make this like experience slightly easier. We were never solving 2x problems. We were always solving 10x problems. How do we reduce delinquencies? How do we reduce time to lease a property? And we were doing it in some of the boldest ways. And so, anyway, that's how we started. And then fast forward today, I'm still a real estate investor. I invest out of state, manage my properties, obviously, through our platform, Hemlane. And then I focus every single day talking to real estate investors and seeing how do we increase their bottom line, their cash flow. If it's a property manager, how do we also increase their cash flow or make it where they're not working 7 days of the week?
Mhm.
And do that by doing it through technology. One last thing, Derek, I will say, because I'm sure you have some questions, is on AI. When we first started Hemlane, investors thought we were crazy. I think I went to every venture capitalist in Silicon Valley and they all said no, right? And I finally got one yes. And that's all I needed to get the
Yeah.
company started and get a capital, a couple $1 million in the bank. But with that experience, I have to say that once AI became a thing, they all came back to me. And they all said, oh, wow, we want to invest in this. We see how AI can help with these communications and stuff like that. And our response was like, sorry, we don't need your capital anymore. You should have believed in us from the start. And so, I think there's a lot between COVID and AI that like helped bring our vision to reality
Mhm.
today. But yeah, it's been really exciting. So I'm in basically, Derek, to summarize, I'm in property management, live and breathe it every day. It's probably the unsexy part of real estate investing, but I think it's the most warranted and needed.
Well, isn't that an incredible feeling to have those people come crawling back but just the tenacity of not giving up and finding that one venture capitalist that believed in your vision. That's just
Yeah.
the whole entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like we just don't quit. We keep on going. And I'm assuming the venture capital company that backed you is very happy with the end result, right?
Yeah, and we're really happy with them because I have to say, like, your investors will make or break your business. I have known people from real estate deals all
Mhm.
the way to starting real estate, like, so prop tech companies. And, there's two things that I see where, it falls apart. It's not the idea, because if you're smart, you can iterate the idea over time. It is your co founder and then your investors. I have had People say I'm getting out of this real estate deal because I can't stand my partners. I've had people say I'm getting out of my prop tech company and I'm just going to sell it to a private equity fund because my investors and my board are a nightmare. One of the things that and this is something just in life, you can kind of tell if you get a good feeling about someone or not. And if I don't have a good feeling about someone, I don't do business with them. And I try to really get to know someone up front. And usually, when I'm giving someone money or capital, it's not the person asking for it. It's someone that I've gotten to know over time. And I say, you know what, I believe in you. Go build your company. I'm going to write you a check. And so I think that's probably a good way to kind of live in that sense of like, if you have someone who seems kind of challenging to work with or you don't know them well enough, probably don't get into business with them.
I've had a different name for it than the polite way you described it. I've called it my no assholes policy for years,
Yeah,
and
I love it.
raised millions and millions of dollars over the years, and had people that wanted to invest, and I just knew in my gut they were going to be a nightmare to deal with,
Yeah,
and it's not
yeah,
worth it. I truly believe that we should get up in the morning and want to go to our business, go to work and enjoy it and not have to deal with people that are hard to deal with. And it's
yeah.
tempting. It's very tempting to take those people on. But the end result can be absolutely a nightmare as you described. So,
Yeah. And I sound like a little bit self-righteous of like I've never done it. I've definitely made those mistakes where I've
mhm,
worked with the wrong people. So not saying that I haven't, like I just got really lucky with our board and really lucky with our investors. Um, but I will say I've learned a lot more now and I'm a lot more confident, you
mhm,
know, 10 years into building Hemlane to say, you know what, I'm going to do what's right for our investors, for our team, and go from there. So yeah, I think when you start, like if someone starts it in real estate, maybe you're a real estate investor and now you're building a fund. I think a lot of times, like when you're first starting out, and let's just say you're doing a syndicate and you're raising capital, and like only the asshole person will give you money,
mhm,
it actually like, and I wish I could go back 5 years and know this, but it, you don't need to work with that person. You almost feel like you do because you want to build a bigger real estate business. But all it does is it pushes you back in time. And it's almost like short-term results of getting that capital for that from them for long-term pain. And
mhm.
so now what I try to do in building stuff is just work with, to your point, really good people and very thoughtful people. I think a lot of people who are quick to make decisions are actually wrong. And some of the smartest people I've worked with are very thoughtful. They're actually very quiet. Like they're quiet because they're constantly thinking and listening. And
Mhm.
every time there's a problem, they like think so strategically about it. And so those are the types of people I always try to surround myself with.
Well, and I try to deal with people that understand that there's going to be challenges, right? This is why I don't like dealing with institutions. For the most part, everything I do is with private capital. Well, enough people have been inquiring, and I'm going to make this super simple on all of you that are listening to the show. If you have any desire to work with me, whether that is a transaction that you're working on that you need help structuring, if you'd like to buy a deal that I have for sale, if you would like to sell me something, whether it's real estate or a business, happy to talk with you. Or if you want to be a financial partner in one of our real estate transactions, simply go to derekdombeck.com. On the homepage, there will be a tab and there will be a web form for you to fill out. Check the boxes that make the most sense for what you want to do, and you will get directed to schedule a call with me, and let's have a conversation. Let's see what we can do to work together. So look forward to hearing from you, no matter what it is that I can help you with. Again, go to derekdombeck.com, fill out the web form, schedule a call, and I will talk to you soon. Because there's going to be
Mm-hmm.
challenges, and I want to be able to have those conversations with my investors with a plan B and a plan C in place if plan A has hiccups. And it's really challenging to do that with, as you said, either the wrong board, the wrong investors, or an institution. And you are 100% betting on and investing in the operator, and how that operator, you being the operator at Hemlane, how you handle those challenges as they come up. That's the investment. It's not the platform. The platform
Mhm.
is awesome, but I can't even imagine the constant updates that have to be involved. And that's actually a question of mine, to keep that platform current with things changing as rapidly as they change in tech. So what does that look like, Dana?
Yeah.
Like, how big is the team that has to be integrating and updating?
Yeah, we run a really agile and smaller team than most. So like engineering product, like people in-house who we have, it's a team of 70 people. But here's the thing that I have learned. That team of 70 people will output and do better than a team of 1,000 somewhere else. And I actually relate it back to my days when I was corporate. I started in the corporate tech world. If I were to go back to the corporate tech world, I would have fired myself
Hmm.
because I wasn't doing anything productive. Like nothing I did really 10x'd anything or really provided impact, right? And I really believe in the Steve Jobs quote that like a team of A plus players will run circles any day around B or C. So what I try to do is pay people a lot for what they're worth. I try to make sure I get the best and the brightest in everything. And sometimes they're not always the loudest. Like sometimes the best product manager is someone who's pretty quiet, but like you'll give them a problem and say, here's how I'm thinking about solving it. And they'll come back and say, that's totally wrong. Here's a different way to solve it. That's going to be 10x better. Right. And I've seen in companies, and this is in real estate too, you hire the wrong people or you work even with an A minus player. And the difference is so stark where how they think and what they do is going to give you either like a micro improvement result, or the wrong result or take you down the wrong road. And the more people you hire, the more likely you are to get those B players. And then the B players hire the C players, and you can imagine it. And so I try to just make sure I've got only A plus players. And I'll give you an example of this, but only A plus players. And then I know that when they're doing something, it's 10x better than any other team because another team has 12 people involved and one person making a decision, but it's a wrong decision, and another person having to approve it, and boom, 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 versus just a team that can execute every day. It's actually interesting. We don't hire any engineers who aren't senior engineers. If you're not a senior or top engineer in your field, we won't hire you. And the reason is that those senior engineers use Claude for everything that a junior engineer used to do.
Hmm.
And so when I look at these other companies that are really bloated, or a lot of our competitors are like, we have this junior engineer position open, we have this standard level engineer open, and our team without having that is going to 10x the product anyway. And so that's a little bit about how I think of building a team. I'm also super, super involved. So I know a little bit of everything on the team because then I can be agile. An example of that is so we do like mediation delinquency management for our property manager and real estate investors, right? Take it off their team, streamline it. And we also have rental assistants who like respond to tenant messages and stuff like that. Um, there was a point to like bring those two teams together into one to just provide a better user experience where the AI and the teams can like understand constantly like what is going on with this tenant group. And because I had been in the details, I knew right away this was the right thing to do. And I knew that when someone proposed it, boom, yep, go forward, no questions asked. And so that's like how I like to run things. I know some CEOs tend to be much more hands off,
Mhm.
but I found when you're into the details, it makes it really easy to get out of the details because then when someone comes to you with a problem or a question, you can actually help brainstorm with them.
Well, and even if we take it to a small level of somebody that's just running a one, two, three-person operation, the difference between being the visionary and the integrator is key, because I have ideas every day and I drive my staff
Yeah,
crazy because I constantly have a new idea. I'm not the integrator. I don't want to be the integrator. I want to be the visionary. And
yeah,
when you're a solopreneur and you're on your own, you have to be both until a point where you can afford to not be. But it's oftentimes we're holding ourselves back trying to save money when we're stepping over a dollar to pick up a dime, right? We're not
Yeah.
really getting the people in place that are going to take us to that next level because we're just in our own way. And as a
Yeah.
visionary, I know that I struggled for years bringing on staff because I never felt like anybody was going to really get what my vision was. That comes down to communication. If I'm not communicating my vision to the team, how can they possibly know what to do next?
Yeah. 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 No, and I think it's a great philosophy and way to kind of live and run your business, right?
Yeah. Well, let's put a couple, just to put things in perspective for people listening. Like, what is the platform managing right now? How many rentals, is Hemlane really kind of overseeing?
Yeah, we oversee 107,000 rentals. And then there's about 30,000 where we help manage the day to day. And what I mean by helping manage the day to day, it's a tenant's delinquent on rent. We're calling out, understanding the why, like having mediators do that, responding to all the tenant inquiries, troubleshooting, dispatching on the repair requests, all of that. So about 33,000 that we do kind of the day to day of, and then 107,000 using our platform today.
So it took you 10 years to get this up and running. What did the early days look like? Because of course there's the whole marketing aspect of how do you get the name out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
at what point did you start getting that snowball effect where it just started growing exponentially?
yeah. You know, I would have built it differently if I would have done it again, right?
Okay.
And so it actually took us a long time to get traction, and it's honestly because my co-founder was he had been an entrepreneur before. He's our CTO and the brains and vision behind Hemlane, and he's also a real estate investor. But when you think about building product or building anything, um, in hindsight, I would have started smaller. And what I mean by that is it's like building a semi truck. If you're going to build a semi truck, start by building a skateboard. After you build a skateboard, build a scooter. After you build a scooter, build a motorcycle. After you build a motorcycle, build a car, then build
Mhm.
a regular truck, like, or a sedan, and
Mhm.
then build the semi truck. And the semi truck is a lot easier to build when you've kind of iterated and built
Yeah.
smaller, right? I wish we had built Hemlane that way. I wish we had said, hey, we're just doing listings. Like, we're just going to be the best platform for finding and placing a tenant, right?
Mhm.
And just focused on that, or had just focused. Our early days, we were thinking of like just focusing on repair coordination and doing that. Um, One of the reasons we didn't was we spoke to real estate investors. And this was back when the world was less open, it was more closed.
Mhm.
But real estate investors were like, hey, if you're not the whole platform, we can't use you. We're using, the Yardis of the world, the Resmans, the Appfolios of the world. And so you have to be like basically the whole platform. Or if you're a single point solution, like we might tap into you, but then if you start building other stuff, all of those operating systems are going to cut you off and you lose your customers. And so we went on the journey to literally, and Derek, I'm not kidding you, build the whole thing.
Mhm.
Repair coordination, the full property management software, and then leasing software and all of that. And I think it was to our detriment because when we did that, we almost didn't go to market fast enough. So we ended up servicing just a few customers who had kind of, fewer properties, not as much of a need, because we didn't have everything built because you can't build everything at once. And, now that I think about product, if anyone out there is kind of listening of like how to do something, it's like you hear those success stories of someone going into real estate and saying, great, I just did. I started a fund and I raised, $500 million. But what you don't realize is like, hey, they actually started by just doing their own investments, getting to know that, getting to know the industry, having the networks, like going through that sequence. And so, in hindsight, the advice I try to always give is like sequence everything, and it's all about sequencing.
So what does it look like today? Like if I have 10 units is Hemlane the product for me, or is it when I have 100 units, 1,000 units? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we've tried to always build it like Excel, where it's simple enough where if it's 1 plus 1, which is what most people do in Excel, equals 2, you can do that. But the second you are on Wall Street and you're doing regression modeling and really complex things, you can also use it. And so having those like gear settings, user settings to make things much more robust. So Derek, for us, it was a combination of both, right? It was doing it was a combination of basically doing the easy stuff and the basic stuff, and then adding more enterprise features. Um, Most people start out with us, Derek, with 10 units, in part because they're just choosing their platform.
Mhm.
They want something that is affordable, but also something that scales with them. But then what's happened is customers have gone up to 100 units, even 1,000 units, and we've grown with them. And that's been really important for us, is to grow with them. Most of our features coming out right now are all enterprise features. So like more robust reporting, more AI for them, everything that they need and putting it in there. But yeah, usually people start with us when they have between 10 to, it's usually 10 to 150 units. But we do have a lot of users who come to us and they're frustrated with either the software or they just acquired more properties and they need to figure out a way to pick up their repair calls and do everything else. And then Hemlane's a great solution for them.
So I'm assuming that it's got integration for taking payments and I guess hit us with all the
Yeah.
bullet points.
Yeah. So let's start at the, I guess, the journey of the rental property. So it's vacant, right? So when
Mhm.
it's vacant, you have three different ways that you can show the property. Derek, you can show it yourself. You're either the manager or the owner, you can show it yourself. Our fastest growing product is our self-guided tours. We built that in-house because all the other ones I find really sketchy. They don't do enough security and they end up with a squatter in the property. So
Mhm.
we had to build that entire experience ourselves. And then the third option is we can connect you with a local property manager using our software if you want a leasing agent. So that's another kind of like marketplace network type feature that we have. So that's the first thing on finding and placing a tenant. Integrations there is everything from background checks. We follow, by the way, all the state and federal level regulations of what you
Mhm.
can show, background credit, income verification, eviction report, all that fun stuff. We advertise to all the listing websites out there. It's over 15 that we list. We used to do over 30. And then we found out the bottom 15 got 0 leads and we're just kind of, software's out that were just spam bots. So we got rid of those, went and targeted the best ones out there. So you can click a button, it syndicates your listing to all the listing websites, all the inquiries come in. We have state specific and county specific lease templates. You can upload your own. There's all of that kind of built into Hemlane. So that's the first part of it. Then the second part of it is on the rent collection side. I think we're the only platform out there that integrates with Cash App. So if you have lower income, your tenants can pay via Cash App, which is great because it just gets logged in our system. We do credit, debit card. You can have the tenant pay those fees. ACH is free in our system. So I know a lot of systems out there will charge the tenant or charge the property manager or owner an ACH payment fee. We don't, because we want you to give your tenants a good experience to pay rent on time. And that has been so core to our values of treat your customers like customers so they stay.
Yeah.
Nickel and diming tends to not work with tenants. They don't like it. And so that's that side. Our maintenance portal is probably the most robust. We do troubleshooting. We do single-use credit cards. So if there's a payment that needs to be made, you can use the single-use credit card in order to pay that. And then it closes out at a certain amount so the vendor can't steal the credit card information, but it links to your bank account. So all of that is basically built into it. And then, so that's a single-use credit cards and maintenance troubleshooting. We've got work order management. You can add your service professionals. They don't need a login. They can go through, respond to things, set up scheduling, all of that. And then we also have the tenants and leases section. We have lease renewals in app. We have Eviction Shield, which is rent mediation. So when a tenant is past due on rent, you have a mediator reaching out to them. And then we also have process servers. We work with a company called Proof, and they can serve notices on your behalf. So you don't need to do that. And they'll follow, they worry about all the compliance because, as you know, every state is different. Just a quick overview. And then, of course, we have a report section. So you can see everything on the report side.
So there's a little bit of stuff in there.
A little bit of stuff. I know. Sometimes I'm always like, it's so fun to wake up for work because there's always so much going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I kind of want to go back a little bit. You started getting into your own properties, and you obviously learned the ins and outs of landlording through that and through your family members that were landlording. But what does that look like today? Is your focus in real estate investing just to kind of build up some assets for someday when you feel like retiring? Or are you 100% in Hemlane and you are not acquiring real estate anymore? What does that look like today, Dana?
It's a combination of both. Like my number one focus is always Hemlane because I'm passionate about saying, hey, I could help millions of other real estate investors out there with Hemlane instead of just helping myself. At the same time, I'm still an active real estate investor. I'm still investing in real estate. I like to be my own customer. I like to experience the product and say, hey, you know what? I think we should change this a little bit. This was my experience on it. And so I love to be my own customer. I also love my passive cash flow. But at the same time, I'm very much on the side of like, Hemlane always comes first because it helps a ton of others. At some point with Hemlane, there will be a point where I completely change. This might be when I'm like 60 or 70 years old. Maybe I just go out and start buying apartments because, I'm too old to run Hemlane and they want to bring some AI genius who's 25 in to run the company. So that would be a while away. But right now, Hemlane is my total focus.
Well, the reason I asked that question is it's almost like the college professor that wants to teach things but never has actually done what they're teaching. And I love the fact that you're still out there, and it doesn't matter the volume or how much or how little, but you're still out there, as you said, being your own customer and using that to continue to improve Hemlane. And I felt like that's really important to know because I know a lot of people in the real estate education space, for example, who are running coaching programs who haven't bought a piece of real estate in years. And
Yeah.
it drives me nuts, So.
Well, also, they don't understand the current market. Like, if they're not actively, they cannot relate. Maybe they bought in 2010 when it was super easy. And they're like, everyone go out and buy now. And it's like, hey, it's a different time. Unless you're following the market every day and experiencing it, you don't know what's coming up. And also in the age of AI, buying real estate is a heck of a lot different than it was before. So.
Yeah. Does Hemlane have any kind of assistance in calculating market rent for the area when there's a vacancy?
Yeah, we have rent estimates for you. So it's based on other properties in your area. We have rent estimates.
Okay. So the hardest question of the day, Dana, what is one question I should have asked you that I did not, and it can be about anything?
What is the best book that you've read most recently in the past month? I always love giving people books to read.
Fantastic question. What's the answer?
I have two of them. The first is E-Myth Revisited. It is a phenomenal book. And it talks about entrepreneurship, and it really talks about how entrepreneurs go into it to say, great, I can be my own boss, blah, 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 blah. And then they find out it's quite the opposite. There's so much struggle in it. And so it talks about thinking about how to actually scale a business and how to make it where it's less stressful for you. So that's the first one. The other one is called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And that is a book based on saying, hey, if you aim for 2X, or like, let's just say, at Hemlane, we said we're going from 107,000 units to 220,000 units, right? That would be 2X. you think about problems differently than 10x, and the goal is always think 10x and you will build a much better product, whether it's investing in real estate or whether it is, just kind of going out in your daily life at your W-2 job. But it really gives you a lot of insight into how to think about things. And the worst case, if you um, go for 10x, you might get to 2x, but at least you're much farther along than you are.
Yes, and most of the time you will get far beyond the 2x, even if you don't hit 10x, for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I love
Exactly.
it. I love it, Dana. How do listeners learn more about Hemlane?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about what we're doing on the property management side, you can go to Hemlane, HEMLANE.com. Just mention Generation of Wealth as well when you go ahead and try it. We have free trials, we have free plans, all sorts of things to help you with your business.
Well, that is a fantastic wrap up. I really, really appreciate you coming and just giving us some of your time. And what time is it in Africa right now?
It's not too late. It's 5:39 p.m. So it's
Oh,
pretty early still. It's about dinner time. Yeah,
not too bad. Well, I'll let you get to dinner, but thank you so much, Dana. I really, really appreciate it.
great.
And
Thanks so much for having me, Derek.
of course. And for all the rest of you, as you know, we bring the best of the best on this show, and Dana is clearly one of those in her field. Go out and spread this show, share this with anybody that you know it can help, and help grow the Generations of Wealth family. Till the next show, go live your vision and love your life. See ya.